Nigeria is blessed with at least 44 mineral resources, including gold, zinc, bitumen, among others. As the nation looks at diversifying the economy, solid minerals provides an option to boost the nation's revenue. How is the government taking steps to address the challenges bedeviling the sector? This week's episode of the program takes a look at the solid minerals sector. Hello there. Thank you for joining me on the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke. The solid minerals sector plays a key role in the federal government's economic recovery and growth plan. And already, the sector has contributed 14.6 billion naira into the Federation account as at January 2018. The government is targeting to increase that to 141 billion naira by 2020. I had a conversation with the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, on the solid minerals sector. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital? President George Weah of Liberia is calling for improved trade relations between his country and Nigeria. And to achieve this, he has opened the doors of his country to Nigerian businesses. President Weah, who spoke to journalists at the end of a brief meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, says Nigeria has continued to play an invaluable role in stabilizing the continent and the sustenance of democracy.
Although yours is the largest economy in Africa, with the most powerful army in our sub-region, you have never used your wealth, your military prowess to expand your territory, threaten your neighbors, or destabilize any sovereign nation in the region. Campaign elections and inauguration are now over, and the real work of governance has begun in Liberia. Hopes are high, and expectations are even higher. We inherited a broken system since the Ebola epidemic and the withdrawal of the Ume peacekeeper from our country. Our economy has not recovered. The prices of our two basic export commodities, rubber and iron ore, continue to fall on the world market. Our diminishing foreign exchange earning from the export of these and other commodities are used mainly on the importation of food and other commodities, causing massive trade deficit. Youth unemployment is at an all-time high, and prices of basic commodities continue to increase.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government is building technological hubs in the public universities across the country. Speaking at the opening of the 2018 Technology and Innovation Expo, the Vice President said the government is in collaboration with the private sector and would establish 6 science acquisition centers in each of the geopolitical zones in the country, where youths would get to appreciate homegrown scientific innovation.
And that human capital that is required is embodied in our youth. Tens of millions of incredibly talented men and women constantly pushing and striving towards greatness. And we will not let them down. We will harness their energy and their talents and make Nigeria stand out for its science and technology. And I hereby declare the 2018 Technology and Innovation Expo formally opened.
The federal government is worried about the security situation in the country as it advises security agencies to ensure regular sharing of intelligence in order to effectively combat insurgency. Speaking at a national security seminar organized by the Alumni Association of the National Defense College, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government is already working to ensure that schools in the northeast are better protected.
More than ever before, we are mobilizing to ensure that schools in the northeast are kept secure from Boko Haram. And we're working with several groups, including some groups on the Safe Schools Initiative, to ensure that our schools are better protected from the kinds of opportunistic attacks that we saw in Dapchi. President Buhari in particular is deeply concerned about the security situation across the country, as you can imagine, and has repeatedly expressed this. Uppermost in his mind, of course, is the fact that he was elected to a large extent based on the vow to secure Nigeria and restore the pride of our military.
The federal government has signed a $178 million deal with the World Health Organization for the eradication of polio and other communicable diseases in Nigeria. The deal represents the WHO 2018 and 19 budget for health intervention and will also assist the federal government to effectively address cases of disease outbreaks by strengthening the nation's primary healthcare system.
We have, just like in all other countries, 47 countries in the African region will sign with the honorable ministers, respective ministers. In our case, the envelope that is indicated is about $178.3 million for the 2 years. There is category that has been indicated. The main focus and also the main cost that was envisaged to cost us is polio eradication activities. Other areas are communicable disease and non-communicable diseases, malaria, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS, and non-tropical, neglected tropical diseases.
The support over the next 2 years will be about $178 million US. About 66%, two-thirds of this funding is committed to polio eradication, finishing polio for good. It will help us to maintain surveillance, to continue to also scan around for some evidences, and until we are certified polio-free, I think the battle is not over.
The federal government has ordered the complete audit of one of the airlines operating in the country. Of particular interest to the government is the personnel, operations and technical capacity of Dana Airlines, which aircraft overshot the runway in Port Harcourt recently. The decision is one of the outcomes of the Federal Executive Council meeting held at the State House in Abuja.
The engineer and the pilot of that particular aircraft, got their licenses both suspended. And beyond that, the government has ordered a complete audit of Dana Airlines in terms of personnel, in terms of operations, in terms of technical capacity.
A federal high court sitting in Abuja has sentenced Charles OKAH and NWABUEZE to life imprisonment after finding them guilty of the October 1, 2010 Independence Day bombing at the Eagle Square in Abuja. The federal government has filed an 8-count terrorism charge against the suspects for masterminding the 2010 Independence Day bomb blast that killed 12 people in the nation's capital. The trial judge, Justice Gabriel Kolawole, while delivering judgment, held that Charles OKAH and his accomplice, Obi Nwabweze, used dynamite to unleash acts of terrorism on Nigerians and foreign dignitaries who had gathered at the Eagle Square for the occasion. Justice Kolawole further held that both the documentary and oral evidence provided by the federal government linked the convicts to the Independence Day bombing in Abuja. The Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions held a protest march to the Federal Ministry of Education and the National Assembly to demand action from the government on the agitations. Protesters displayed placards, chanting solidarity songs as they marched through the city centre. NASU, the National Association of Academic Technologists, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities have been on strike since December last year to demand the non-implementation of several agreements entered into with the government.
We first took this to the Ministry of Education, where we went to the office of the minister, and here we are now to the legislature, so that they will also be aware. In case there is any financial implication, they should be aware and also play their role effectively to addressing this issue once and for all.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, called for more appointment of women into management positions in banks. Speaking at an event to mark this year's International Women's Day, Mr. Emefiele said there is the need to increase the level of participation of women in key positions in the private sector as well. He said the present situation, where only 3 out of the 27 chief executive officers of banks in Nigeria were women, was not acceptable.
Despite the overwhelming evidence that a gender-diverse workforce is associated with better performance, gender equality remains pervasive and persistent with women underrepresented in many sectors. Since gender equality is a need for sustainable development, this clearly undermines the realization of 2030 Global Development Agenda, otherwise known as the Sustainable Development Goals.
President Muhammadu Buhari has reiterated that the priority of his administration is mainly to secure the country, ensure a viable economy, and rid the country of corruption. President Buhari, who stated this when he received a delegation from King Salman of Saudi Arabia at the presidential villa, said his administration was mindful of the 3-pronged promises made to Nigerians before the 2015 elections. He said Nigerians in the areas affected by Boko Haram insurgency were in the best position to provide correct assessments of the changes that have taken place since he assumed office in 2015, assuring that he remained undeterred and focused on securing the lives and properties of all Nigerians.